because we have very important people on this call. We need to hear what they saw. We need to hear how they were treated when they honored their oaths and tried to protect their patients. And we also need to hear all the positive things that they're doing now in the face of this ongoing catastrophe in the hospitals, which is not over. We call them whistleblowers, which is accurate, but what they really are people who are dedicated to health, the health and well-being of other people. That's the profession they signed up for, and they are honoring their oath. So how the book came to be, after Erin Olszewski came out in the spring of 2020, very early, with her eyewitness accounts of what she saw in the New York City hospitals, I was waiting for professional journalists and others to follow up. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and the years went by, and I said, I guess I better do it. So what the book shows is that the things Erin reported were not just one badly run hospital, and it was not just a few bad apples. It was systemic. And it was not just a few individual tragedies. Unfortunately, that's the impression even people who follow the COVID situation very closely still believe, right? So let's address the scale of this thing. Let's look at the numbers in the US. 1,100,000 people are reported to have died of COVID. Over 900,000 of them died in a hospital or other medical setting. And what emerges from the book and the interviews is that the protocol used to treat people who had positive COVID tests treated in the hospitals completely contradicts all previous medical practice, wasn't based on anything that can be called science, and defied all common sense. And when it became obvious that the protocols were harming and even killing people, the few nurses who stood up were demoted, fired, professionally blackballed, had their licenses challenged, and were tracked down by well-organized gangs of internet trolls. The book's 491 pages. It could have easily been 10 times that amount. In fact, what's needed is not just a book, but a serious commission on the scale of the investigations done after the JFK assassination, the Challenger disaster, and 9/11. There are many, many nurses and other healthcare professionals who need to be interviewed. Many surviving family members need to be interviewed, and many survivors need to be interviewed because they didn't kill everyone. And there are people whose health has been completely wrecked by the so-called treatment. There are potentially hundreds of thousands of families and survivors affected by this, right? So in addition to that, we need the hospital records. We're looking at some of them, we're examining them. Just the most garish, horrifying things come out when you actually study these records. And we need to look at all the death certificates. And here's the takeaway. This thing is not over. The system that did this is still in place. And for all practical purposes, it's completely off radar of everybody. So that's my motivation. And that's what the book's about.